Hey everyone, so today's video is one that I posted at the start of last year as well. It's one that I plan on doing at the start of every year. It's basically just taking a look at what has happened in the last year for me and what I'm hoping will happen in the next year or am aiming for in the next year. So if you would like to check out my video from this time last year, I will have that linked in the description box down below. Honestly, I can only remember a few of the things that I said in that video. I am going to rewatch it at some point, but I haven't yet. I just know that there was one main thing that I had planned to do in 2016 that I didn't end up doing, and it wasn't because I couldn't, it was because I decided not to. But anyway, let's start from the beginning. Let's have a look back at what I did in 2016. So one of the first things that I did in 2016, which was way back in January, was I went to Taupo with Jonathan and some of our friends, and I finally did the Tongariro crossing. I've been wanting to do that since way back at the start of high school, so almost 10 years I've been wanting to do that walk, and I finally did it. It was not too hard, it was an 8-hour walk, and the worst bit for me was right at the end, the last half an hour to an hour or so, when I had blisters on both my feet and my shoes were so sore, and that was the worst bit. But aside from that, I loved the whole thing. So that's definitely one that I can tick off my wish list. I'm so glad that I finally did it, and I did it with a great bunch of people as well. Speaking of going places, Jonathan and I also went to Perth in Australia in July, and we went and stayed with Jonathan's uncle and his partner, and we were there for 2.5 weeks. We didn't just stay in Perth, we went up north as well. We went as far north as Shark Bay, which I think was about 8 hours car drive from Perth. And we had a really great time there, and because it was the middle of winter for us at that time, it was really nice to go to a warmer climate. It was still the middle of winter in Australia as well, but Australia's winters are not as cold as New Zealand winters, so it was nice to get a bit of sunshine and a bit of warmth. And while we're on the topic of other countries, that brings me on to the thing that I had planned to do in 2016, which was Jonathan and I were going to go and teach English in Japan. That was our main goal for 2016, and we ended up deciding not to do that. We had a few different reasons for deciding not to go. I won't go into them now, but we'd still love to visit. We just don't intend to work there. So once we had decided not to go to Japan, I figured that I needed a real job because I was just working in kind of after school care privately for a couple of families. It was nowhere near enough hours. It was just seeing me through until we went overseas. So once we decided not to go, I buckled down and found myself a real job, and it is honestly the best job that I could ever imagine having. So I currently work at a high school as a student support worker. It's a little bit similar to teacher aid, so I'm there to help the students who have learning issues and just support them in class. And also in tests or exams, if the students need help reading or writing, that is part of my job as well. So obviously I never help them with the question answers in a test or an exam, but I can read the question to them and I can write down their answers if they have issues with either of those. And this is the happiest that I've ever been in a work environment. I absolutely love it. The students are wonderful. The other staff members are great. The school that I'm at is a really great school to be at as well, and I just can't see myself leaving anytime soon. And one of the best parts about the job is that Jonathan has the same job at the same school, so we go to work together, we're at work together, we come home together, and we can, if we have an issue with how do I deal with this situation, we both have the same job, so we can talk to each other about it, and it just works really well, especially only having one car, that we both have the same job. It makes it a lot easier. Speaking of the car, when the plan was to work in Japan, we were going to keep our old car until we went to Japan and then sell it, use the money to get ourselves set up in Japan. But once we decided not to go, we were thinking that we should probably sell the car anyway because it was kind of not doing very well. It was a pretty old car. I'd had it for a really long time, and it really just didn't fit our needs. It was a really tiny 2-door car. It didn't have much power, and it was starting to have some problems, and I just figured it was better to sell it sooner rather than later when it had more problems. So when we came back from Perth, we decided that that was the time to sell the old car and get a new car. And that was exactly what we did. I thought that my old car wouldn't fetch very much money, but it did pretty well. And the new car that we bought, obviously not a new car. When I say new, I mean new to me and Jonathan, not brand new, but we bought it secondhand, and honestly it's not that old at all. I think it's from 2005. I really can't remember. Anyway, it is a Toyota Corolla GX. It's 4 doors, which was my main thing. It's got a lot more power, which is what Jonathan wanted. It's got a lot more space. It's so comfortable. It's pretty good on petrol as well, and one of the cool things about the petrol gauge is that instead of being a dial that goes from full to empty, it's got 9 little bars, and so when you fill up you've got all 9 bars, and then the bars kind of go away one at a time, so it's actually easier to see how much petrol you have left. And we got a pretty good deal on the car. We spent a couple of weeks looking for the right car at the right price. We did still have to get a loan from the bank, which we are still paying back now. We've done most of it, but we still just got a little bit left to go. And we also had to get it fixed up a little bit when we did buy it. So we had all 4 tires replaced because they were all wearing down. We had the rear brakes fixed, the air filters replaced, a bunch of stuff like that. So it was alright though, because the price that we got it for was considerably under budget, so we just used like the rest of our loan to fix it up, and it worked out really well, and I am super happy with the car that we chose. It's been perfect. One not so great thing that happened in 2016, which I wasn't sure if I wanted to put it in this video or not, because I wasn't sure if I wanted such a sad thing in this video, but it was one of the biggest things for me in 2016 that impacted my year, and it was that my dog got put down. It was all the way back in May, so it was quite a while ago now, but it was very upsetting. So I posted a video about her, about my dog Essen, when she died, or when I found out that she died, and I didn't give details in that because I didn't want it to be about me or about the situation. I literally just wanted it to be a bunch of happy videos and memories of her that I could look back at any time and just remember how she was. And I won't go into specifics now, but basically what happened was that my dog was living with my parents, and my parents live a long way away. It's like a 6-hour drive, so it's not like I can see them in the weekends. But they had her put down, and they actually hadn't told me, and I found out because my brother came to see me, and he had just come from staying at my parents' place for a week or so, and I asked how my dog was, and he said she wasn't there. So basically my parents had my dog put down, and they actually hadn't told me, and I didn't find out until she'd been dead for about 2 weeks. The other part of the story is that she wasn't old, and she also wasn't sick. I understand that my parents are getting old and that they couldn't look after her because she was a very energetic and excitable dog, but I don't understand why they didn't tell me and let me rehome her instead of having her put down. And I still have times now when I just don't believe it. I expect them to call me up and say they were just joking the whole time, she was just staying with someone else, and it was all just a big joke. I find it really hard to believe that anyone could put down a young, healthy dog that was so loving without even telling the person that loved it the most. Anyway, let's move on, because obviously that's not the happiest memory that we want to dwell on from the last year. Something that was ongoing through the year was my YouTube videos and kind of the progression in quality. So at the very start of the year, well, kind of at the end of the year before, Jonathan had given me a camera for Christmas, which is of course what I'm filming on now, so I can't show it to you. But before that, I had been filming on the webcam. So the camera was a huge step up from that, and that was the start of the quality of my videos being better, because I could now, like with the camera, I can now put it anywhere, as opposed to the webcam, which was obviously tied to the computer, so I could only be in the room where the computer was, and that was not a nice room to film in. So now I can have whatever background I want. And then for my birthday, Jonathan bought me a ring light and a box light, and that was the start of good lighting in my videos. So right now I'm not using the ring light today, I'm just using the box light, and this is what it looks like. Normally for my videos I do use the ring light as well, but I figured for this video, because it's not like looking at my makeup or anything, you didn't need all the details, so that's why there's no ring light today. And then more recently, only in the last couple of months, I invested in a good editing software program. I'm now using Sony Vegas Movie Studio Platinum 13. It's such a mouthful of a name, but it's a really good editing software, and it's one of the cheaper ones out there as well. So I think that it was a good balance between being good but not being too expensive. And before that, I was using Windows Movie Maker, which was literally just the basics. And the reason that I actually upgraded was because it stopped saving my videos, it stopped working, it would just close down all the time. So it was definitely time for an upgrade. And the other thing from 2016 that Jonathan and I celebrated about a month ago now was our 2-year wedding anniversary. So obviously we got married 2 years ago, and it's just been a really nice 2 years, and I can't imagine anyone better to spend my life with. So moving on to the things that I want to do in 2017, or at least work towards. The first thing is something that I am doing, and that is Jonathan and I are going on a road trip in January. We're actually leaving in about a week and a half now, so it's pretty exciting. It's not a very long trip at all. We're only going to be gone for 5 days, but we're just going up north. We're going around the coastline. We're going to stay in lots of tiny little towns and just see the scenery and go and see the big, huge curry tree and just enjoy ourselves and give the car a run for its money. The other thing that I am 99% definitely getting done this year is gum surgery, which I am not excited for at all, but it needs to be done. So what I'm getting done is called a soft tissue graft, which is where they take a little bit of tissue from the roof of your mouth and they stick it on where your gum is meant to be, because my gum obviously has receded, so there is no gum there. So they're just gonna stick it over the base of the tooth so that it doesn't like die and fall out. And the two things that I'm not happy about with this is firstly the cost, but actually I'm getting help with the cost, so that's not the biggest deal anymore. But the other thing is the fact that I'm not going to be able to eat proper food for like 2 weeks. Not really excited about the procedure itself, not really excited about the time that I'm going to have to take off work, and not really excited about the pain or the discomfort or the hunger. Basically, if I didn't have to have it done, I would not be having it done because it's not going to be fun. In 2017, I want to move out. So Jonathan and I are currently living with his family, and we are planning to move out in the next couple of months. We want to go flatting with friends, and all we're waiting on now is for our friends to get themselves jobs. So one of our friends has had a job. He had a job last year, but it was only like a kind of a contract job, so it expired at the end of 2016 and it doesn't renew. So he's looking for a new job now, and Jonathan's other friend is just looking for a job as well. So as soon as they both have jobs and they have a steady income, we're all going flatting together, and I'm really excited. Those are pretty much all of the goals that I have for 2017. I don't really make that many goals because you never know what's going to happen in a year. Like, some of the other things that I'd like to do is Jonathan and I would like to go on a holiday to Japan, but we don't know if that'll be this year or next year. It depends on, you know, lots of different things. It depends on the situation we're in, where we're living, how much money we have, what else comes up. So I won't say that we're definitely going to try and go to Japan this year because we just don't know at this point. One thing I am going to do this year though is I am going to continue making videos for YouTube because it is my favorite hobby and I love it so much, and I would have nothing else to do in my spare time if I didn't do this. Anyway, that is it for today's video. Those were all of the main things that I did in 2016 and the main things that I currently think I would like to achieve in 2017. Feel free to leave me a comment down below letting me know what you did in 2016 that you're really proud of, or any goals that you have for 2017. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope you have an amazing 2017, and I will see you next time. Bye!